Hello, welcome to today's episode of STS. It is June 1st, 2016. I'm joined as usual by my good friends here, Tom Coppola. I'm Renee Scavington, and we are going to talk about things happening in the world of parkour today.
That sounded very official.
Thanks.
I like it. Did you practice that?
No,
No? All right.
that just came off. So we just got back from Beast Coast,
Yeah.
and what was your overall impression of the event?
I really enjoyed my time. Every time I go to an event and I don't train very much, for whatever reason, I have a good time. Yeah, it was good. It was pretty interesting experience. My favorite part was doing the workshop because I got a chance to teach basically something I'm an expert in, and it's really exciting to me that people really were interested in learning that. Yeah, that was my favorite part. Other than that, the little training I did do happened to be just climbing around because my foot's a little bit injured right now, so I didn't do very many jumps, and I actually stayed away from a lot of the built equipment. Gateway Park is actually a pretty cool park, so
Yeah, it's sick.
there was a lot of stuff to do there that was existing in the environment before and in spite of Beast Coast, right?
Before you bring in the stuff.
Yeah, so I really enjoyed my time. What do you think?
Well, so Beast Coast, before we went, it seems like Beast Coast has this reputation of being super dangerous. And I don't know if that's the amount of people or the equipment. And what I found was I didn't feel, well, on the first day, I didn't feel like I wanted to do a lot of things because of the amount of people. And as I sort of got acclimatized to it being so crowded, I think one of the first things I tried was a really close jump on the ground, and I ended up hitting someone with my arm. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's what happens. But it was a really crowded spot. And then that was the only time that I actually really kind of bumped with someone or felt that I was in danger because of too many people. I mean, that's the largest parkour event I've ever been to. So
Yeah, it was huge. There were so many people there. They had 630 plus registrations. So
over the course of 2 days.
over the course of 2 days. So it didn't look like there was actually 600 people there at any given time, but there was definitely a lot of people there. It was definitely the biggest parkour event I've been to, and yeah, it was cool seeing so many people doing parkour. It's definitely a growing sport. It's definitely a growing event. Every year it seems to get bigger, and I wasn't there last year or the year before, but one of the big reputations that it has is, at least from last year, is they have things breaking on, so some of the built equipment they bring in, it happens to break, or maybe they try to build too much, or they just don't focus on making things sturdy enough. From what I saw, it didn't seem like there was much of an issue this year, but I definitely heard a couple stories about like a bar getting kicked out, or some other sketchy business happening. So I don't think they've dialed that in yet, but maybe next year.
Yeah, there definitely were some sketchy builds. Like, it's undeniable. There was the larger piece they had that had the platforms and the scaffolding had some shake to it, which is what you're going to get with scaffolding, no matter how many contact points you have. And then they had some other, I think it was like a key clamp, blue bar structure, and at the end of the event I saw that one of the bars had bent, and that thing was just going all over the place. I was surprised people were still throwing things on it after it was clearly angled off to one side and everything.
There was, I think I know which bar you're talking about, and I was definitely sketched out about it. I didn't really do anything on it because of how sketchy it looked, and I found it very humorous because Jesse Peveril just kind of was like, "Where's the tool? Where's the tool to like tighten this?" And so he went and he found the tool, and then he's just tightening it on his own, So like, he took some initiative there, but he shouldn't have to do that. As somebody who's, just there at the event, not only that, but he's also like an invited athlete, who was basically brought there. He shouldn't have to do that kind of thing to make sure things are stable and ready, but it's a community event, so definitely, he wanted to make sure people were safe, so he took some initiative and fixed the setup a little bit. But yeah, overall, I had a great time. I mean, we watched the fast contest from
Our hotel.
the top of our hotel in a restaurant, because we were a little bit late that morning because we traveled all day the day before. But that was really cool watching it from the top. Do you have any thoughts on the fast contest that you want to get into?
Well, I mean, what is there to say? It was a heavily restricted course, so a lot of people had to run the same runs. I didn't think it was all that exciting. The game we were playing was basically try to guess who's who, because we had this 17th floor bird's eye view of the whole thing.
Yeah.
But as usual, all the athletes had fun.
Oh yeah.
So
running, every time I run a speed course, I enjoy my time, right? In spite of how restricted the course is, and in my view as somebody who's designed speed courses quite a bit, I'll usually look at a course and be like, oh, this is a problem with the course. This is a problem with the course. But then when I actually do run the course, I have fun, right? So in spite of the course design, which I wasn't very inspired by. I didn't run the course, but I wasn't inspired by it. Every athlete I saw basically ran it the same way, which means you're watching. I don't know. You're just watching the same method every time. So there's no strategic There's very little strategic element to course running. It's just how fast can you do all the moves that are basically pre-planned for you, which that's not exciting to me. But yeah, it was still interesting to watch it, because you could see the different athletes, how fast they actually are. I haven't seen a couple of those people actually run a speed course, so you don't really know how fast they are, and then you can see it and it's like, oh wow, like Jimmy from Rilla Hops, he won it, and I wouldn't have guessed that, considering Mish and Johan and some bigger names are there running the course. So that was interesting to see. I don't know if he would have, if things would have been different if there wasn't that ridiculously low underbar that it really helps to be a small person. If that wasn't part of the course.
Yeah, Mish definitely had some things to say about just the course not. I mean, courses should not favor certain athletes. You don't want to, and we've had that experience in the past where we've designed a course, and then kind of after the fact, seeing everyone run it, we're like, wow, this really favored tall dudes, or this really favored not necessarily a technical approach, but someone who can just dive forward really well.
Or favor somebody who's fast at sprinting.
Right? Yeah. Instead of really good at parkour. So it is. It's not easy designing a course but that's also why you want to have more than one. I was let down that they only had one course. I mean, we were watching it from there, and we were all comfortable watching it from our 17th floor, and it was in the morning too. That was breakfast time, and we were cool watching it from up there. But I was expecting it to continue into the afternoon as advertised, and it didn't. So that was kind of a letdown, and I think that would have definitely evened out the times if there was more than one course.
Yeah.
And we may have seen a different result, because that's the whole point of having more courses, is to kind of get a better gauge of how well rounded the athletes are.
Yeah. My main criticism of it was the athletes ran the course twice, so they didn't have any practice time, and I'm okay with them not having practice time because they got to run it twice, but they took the times from both attempts and they averaged them, and that was what decided the winner. And I think that's a huge problem, because it's like, you run the first time and then you kind of get a feel for the course, and then second time you get to run it again, and you improve on your time, and then you take the average, and then you're ranked based on your average. I didn't like that. Like the two women that ran the course, Lorena and Tam, they tied based on their averages, but Lorena actually had the fastest time. she ran it in like 50 seconds, and
Yeah.
Tam was like a few seconds
And I
behind
think
her.
any other speed course I've attended, I've never seen average time on the same course, and maybe that was making up for not having two courses.
Maybe,
But
yeah.
I don't think it was a good call because ultimately it should just be take your best attempts.
Yeah.
So Lorena should have. In
Yeah, she-
any other parkour competition I've been to, she would have been declared the fastest time. And I don't know if they had an official women's division or anything,
Yeah.
but she would have beat Tan.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. We could be critical all day of
Yeah.
the speed courses.
Yeah, I had much lower expectations for Beast Coast, just overall. I didn't think I would get that much training in at all because of the amount of people. I was going to the event to check it out for the first time, and I had a lot of fun. For me, the jam is more about just bringing together all the different people,
yeah.
and that's ultimately what I got out of it. I had long conversations with a lot of people I haven't seen in a while,
Yeah.
and did get a little bit of training in. Definitely realized the more people left the park, how dope the park was.
Yeah.
Just as people weren't around, but I mean that's not what I was going for. I wasn't necessarily going there for that park.
Yeah.
I was going to see the people.
Yeah, that's the one thing I got out of it was reconnecting with old friends that I knew from because that's the cool thing with parkour is like you meet people through different events or going and traveling and training in different areas, and then you don't see them until the next big event that you both happen to be at, right? And so that was this for me. There was actually so many people at East Coast that I previously met and got to reconnect with. And then on top of that, there was new people that I never met before. I never met Jesse Peveril before, and he's a really cool guy. I actually really enjoyed spending time with him, getting to know him a little bit. And then there's tons of other people that I met just for the first time, and it just blows my mind how connected the parkour community can be at times. So yeah, it was really really enjoyable experience, and I would go back next year if I got an invite.
There you go.
Cool.
Yeah, really unique and big event, really hard event to pull off because they're permanent. They get charged by the hour, I think was mentioned, because they had to kick everyone out at a certain point on one of the days. So really expensive, really time-consuming event. We were there when they were just like hauling away stuff at the end, trying to give a hand because it doesn't seem like they even have enough people.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are probably volunteer too. So. Again, we can be as critical of the event as we want, but ultimately it's a very ambitious event, and it's only going to get better. And it seems like they've made improvements upon what happened last year. So, I only expect better things from the event.
Yeah, I just want to take a second to thank Mark Turok and Travis and basically everyone involved in American Parkour putting the events together because they worked their asses off.
Yeah.
And we know what it takes to put, in terms of like putting an event together at that, not at that scale. We've never put events together.
We haven't done anything that big.
But we have done big events before, and the amount of work and time and effort it takes to put an event like that together, I think a lot of people are really easily like just become keyboard warriors or just in general like can be critical of something without really knowing what it takes to put into it.
Which is allowed still.
Sure, it's totally allowed to be critical, but I just want to take a second to recognize like that. You know what, like that's a huge event, and it probably costs a lot of money and just time, like just hours, just purely on hours spent putting that thing together.
Yeah, the amount of pieces that actually went into the build structure, planning and building, and then taking it all down. It's only up there for 2 days, right? It seems almost not worth it, but it is because if you get the people out to complain on it.
Absolutely. So you want to move on?
We got to move on.
All right.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk about we'll kind of do in the order news. Jason Paul put out his first vlog episode, and I'm just going to assume that he's going to be doing this thing regularly.
He was asking for feedback, if you like it, I'm just.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
He was because he made a post saying, "I'm glad it was received well."
Oh, okay.
And that's how I saw it, that post, right?
Okay.
It's on YouTube, so obviously you're getting that Facebook blockage.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff that's up on YouTube, like this show, even for instance, is hard to get views on unless you have a big YouTube subscribership, and even if you do, chances are people aren't going to see it.
Yeah. It's hard to get it shared.
Yeah. So, anyways, watching. Is it up on Farang? Is that the channel that's on?
Ooh, actually, I'm not even sure.
I have to check that. Anyway, we'll link it in the description. But I made a post basically just saying I think this is really something that a lot of athletes should be doing, is making just going into rather than even Instagram, because a lot of people are starting to complain about Instagram where it's like, oh, there's all these tiny little clips and they just get tired of seeing, they want to wait a little bit before seeing the athlete again or whatever. And I think there's a couple of athletes with big enough names and interesting enough personalities and things where they could really make a run at this.
Right.
Like that jump and travel show we talked about before. I was super interested in that, and those guys they're decent, but they're not elite level, and they're not super big names or anything. But I just enjoy watching those short parkour content, 10-minute episodes, things. I'll totally sit down and give those a watch, particularly if it's not just like action, 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 and there's like breaks in between. I really appreciate that, and I think there's definitely a market there, we'll say. So so Jason's taking that opportunity. I thoroughly enjoyed the show.
I'm surprised it's taken this long.
Yeah,
honestly.
For him to do that, or just for anyone to
both.
I mean,
both.
I mentioned Dylan Baker in a comment. Like, he had Baker blogs I enjoyed even more, and he could even spend more time talking in those. It's more kind of, he does an intro, he does the action, and then he says goodbye, right?
I enjoyed Jason's vlog. It was interesting because it was like, this is kind of a snapshot of my day, right? He meets up with his friend, and then they go explore. They take photos. They're using GoPros to like film little, not even really action sequences, but just kind of like they'll put a little line together and film it, and then, and then they get kicked out by security, or and they have to dip out now, like they go on rooftops and stuff like that. It's a cool concept. I mean, and like I said, I'm surprised it hasn't been pursued before, because it's almost like it's really easy content, right? If you're doing that anyway, you're going out to take photos, film little clips or explore in general, why not just take your GoPro out with you and then make it into a vlog? Like, it's really, really easy to do, and relatively easy to do, and then you still have to edit it and then get people to watch it. But again, if you have a big enough following like Jason does, then why not? Yeah.
I think there's a couple of things to take away from the content. So he basically goes spot to spot, and it's their filming and their stuff, and it almost seemed like to me like he doesn't train.
Yeah.
He just shows up at the spot. This is interesting. Let's get a photo, get a video, get out. And he warmed up a little bit. He does some like leg swings and stuff.
Yeah.
And so maybe it doesn't show enough to know if he's actually spending some time working on skills or training in those situations. But that's just an interesting cultural change, and not one I'm necessarily in favor for. I started parkour going to a spot, and you spend a bunch of time in that spot using everything and training and developing skills and getting everything out of the spot. I'm very much in favor for people becoming famous by actually training and putting in time in that way. And when it's just kind of like going out and doing stuff to get a cool photo or a cool video, it's kind of lame.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's actually what he's doing. I can't say, but that's just kind of how the video felt. The other thing is the roof access and the breaking and entering and everything. And he had that really friendly interaction with a security guard, or was it a security guard, or someone basically kicking him out. Yeah. And it's Germany, so maybe in Germany it's not that big of a deal. And we kind of get into this like responsibility debate of, should we be putting stuff out there where he's basically just kind of in the middle of the day, kind of recklessly going up, tearing off handles of, unintentionally, but of doorknobs. And I don't have a problem with it. He can do, whatever he wants as a person. But I feel like it kind of sets an interesting image for mimicking. We'll say,
Oh, yeah.
kids wanting to
Well,
go
yeah,
and explore and do the exact same thing.
Whether or not he wants to be, he's a role model, and and that has to be taken into consideration. And he's like, we've talked about him in the past before. He's not exactly the guy that's trying to be PC. He's not exactly.
No,
the
he's
guy.
having sex in videos. So
Yeah, well, yeah, he's peeing on his own GoPro.
Yeah.
Like he's doing weird stuff, and he's pushing kind of like he's trying to be edgy. I think he's doing it on purpose, and I think it's a smart move by him in terms of like marketing. But parkour, it wasn't supposed to be like this, right?
No. And like I said, you're saying like he's pushing it, and I'm saying I could care less.
Yeah.
But it is interesting to see how far he's going to take it before a lot of people get fed up with it. Before he gets blamed for something, for like some kid getting in trouble for trying to be like Jason Paul and do the same thing. Because I was talking to some people just this weekend at Beast Coast, and I think it was maybe Gareth from Real Hops, or maybe it was someone from New York, or maybe both, who were saying, we don't go on rooftops. Last time we did, we got shot at or something.
Yeah.
There's parts of the world where you can't do that at all. And like he's having this friendly interaction. That's very much probably how it would be in Vancouver too.
Yeah, we probably wouldn't have an issue if we were.
We're definitely not gonna get shot at. We might get some aggressive talker, a security guard who's up in our face about something, and same thing. It's okay, we'll stop. But
yeah, it would definitely, like in certain parts of the U.S., it can get pretty sketchy. Like I know New York has a lot of issues. Like Florida, the Real Hops guys, we were talking to them at length about how much trouble like it is to just train at a spot, not even necessarily go on a rooftop, but just train at a spot. It's like, you can't even like warm up, because like as soon as you're seeing like warming up, then you're gonna get kicked out. So you have to like get out of the car, go do the jump, and then dip,
that was word for word the description is drive to a spot, get out, film the thing, get back in, drive to another spot.
It's
which is kind of what Jason was doing.
But I actually want to go back because you're talking about how like there's this kind of interesting phenomenon where people are. Well, Jason, it looks like he's doing like he's not really training. He's just kind of going and like doing the thing and then like moving on and maybe filming a clip or getting a photo. But it's interesting, like in the parkour community, we've just adopted the term training as anytime we're going out and doing a jump.
Yeah.
Right. That's training. When in reality, like culturally, we might call it training. But half the time you're probably just playing around, like dicking around with your friends, or like, or you're just exploring. You're out like maybe climbing on a rooftop, or like climbing under a bridge or something like that, or just urban exploration. That's considered training nowadays, right? When initially, like at least when I started parkour, practicing the moves. Repetition, mindful repetition, finding different applications for that skill and improving on it. That's training. And then, but for somewhere along the way, just training just became this catch-all term for going out and doing stuff.
Well, it's performing, right?
Yeah.
Because you can have, I don't disagree with a performance session. And again, it's hard to call it training, where you have a spot in mind. You have your purpose is I'm gonna go and do a challenge and get it done, and probably document it.
Yeah.
And it's almost like training is dependent on how many attempts it takes you. It's like, I went to go do this thing and I ended up training.
Yeah. Whereas if you flash it, if you get a first try, it's
it's not really training. I just did this line,
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I'm definitely guilty of it. I'm kind of in, there's times when I put in work and I'm like really training, and then there's times when I just see a line, film a little clip for Instagram and pop it up, right? And then it's like, cool, I trained today.
This is Instagram confessions.
Instagram confessions. That's not to say though that I didn't get anything out of that session. no matter how short it was, or you know, how minimally I actually worked, right? It doesn't mean I didn't get anything out of the session. I think there's actually still value in doing that. And I also think, again, there's still value in like filming yourself, whether you're using it for Instagram or you're just using it for your own private use, or filming it for YouTube, or whatever it is you're using for. I think there's still value in that, because I've learned so much about my own movement just from watching it and seeing and being critical of it and seeing what I can do better, or being proud of what I accomplish. There's value in that. There really is. So, you know, I'm in agreement with you in that, like, that shouldn't be the entirety of what you're doing. That shouldn't be your training. But if that happens to be the case, then you could still take something from it and you can still learn from it. But you should still be putting in work, right? Like making sure you're getting stronger, making sure you're developing your skill and not just always in performance mode.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I actually remember when, it's funny that we're talking about vlogs and you're saying it took so long. Well, Jesse and Corey did vlogs for it's usually a vlog of a project, right? So they did from here to there, and then off the edge tour, and then they came through here, and it was kind of an interesting training experience in that way, because in some ways, at some moments we were training, but there were some moments where it was like photo session. They had to do their photo session, and Emily was getting some shots of Corey doing a fake stride, and that was really funny. Anyways, moving on to another topic though with those two, or I think it might be just Jess of the Flare, with his, is it Free Running Online Academy?
Nope. Free Running Academy Online.
Free Running Academy
FAO shorts.
Online. I think that was just announced today.
It was, yeah.
So this is fresh news, although this is going to come out tomorrow, so it won't be fresh anymore.
Yeah, as fresh as we can make it.
Yeah, so it looks like they have is there a free product on there? I didn't have too much time to look at it.
They have a couple free products where it's like, sign up and get 5 free tips on how to improve your wall running or backflip or climb up or whatever it is, and then they have like programs. I think they have 2 programs that are for sale. I didn't really look into it enough, but the programs cost like around $100 or something like that, which is pricey. It's not. I don't think it's unreasonable to ask for that amount of money. I think my issue is that it's, I don't think that they've really coached for very long, and they don't seem like they're actually coaches. They're spending their time doing stunts and being, parkour athletes, and potentially training. And it's not like you can't. There's nothing you can learn from those types of people, but they're actually specifically going into like making an online academy, which is, premised around the idea that we are experts in teaching these skills, when in reality, I actually don't think that's the case. I mean, if you look at Jesse LaFleur's tutorials, nothing against the guy personally, but the tutorials I think are really not very good. They're, just him talking in front of a camera about what the move is supposed to look like or how he approaches it or whatever. Not really a systematic
experience.
Not really a systematic approach to developing a skill.
It's one of those things
really
where
well thought out.
It's one of those things where parkour's not really there yet though either. Like a lot of people haven't put in enough time to have a better systematic approach. And there's a couple. He's not alone in the online coaching department. And I think that's something that's going to continue to grow. We offer online coaching, but we don't have as big of a name as Jesse or Corey. And I ultimately think that their target is probably going to be beginners and probably kids. Are these people going to be receiving bad information? I don't know. I didn't download and look at the material yet. It's probably good enough for some kid to get started, and there's probably going to be some value in there. So, I mean, all the power to them. All the power to anyone really taking I think taking an opportunity in parkour and realizing that there's a market for something just about time here. But it's also a competitive market for us because we're coaches, and we put a lot of time into programming and stuff. So obviously I'm going to have a competitive response to these sort of things, just like their league and everything. And it's funny too, just kind of the growth of the parkour industry and different people trying to take opportunities of different products.
Well, the cool thing for me is that it is growing the industry, just in general, the parkour industry. There's going to be more because of this. Potentially, there's going to be more access to parkour. There's going to be more or free running. Excuse me.
Yeah, and that's the other funny thing too is they're consistent on this free running terminology. So it's like, can we even be competitive? Because
but the funny thing is, it's Free Running Academy Online, and then one of their programs is like parkour basic, like learning like how to get better at parkour.
Okay, so in their case, free running is the umbrella, and parkour is the sect of free running.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which I think is totally backwards, but that's another discussion.
We did a discussion on that.
Yeah. But the interesting thing to me though is it's the same. We see the same story developing. Parkour athletes, high level parkour athletes, are looked to as the ones to learn from. It's the thing. I think that was a problem with Beast Coast. That was another problem that we saw there.
Well, that's every jam though.
Oh,
that's
yeah,
every jam.
but
The athletes get invited, and it's like, you want to make some money while you're here? Do a workshop.
Yeah, do a workshop, and a lot of people take them because it's like, oh, there's that popular athlete. How many classes or how many coaching hours does Jesse Flair teach every week? How much time do these people actually put into teaching skills on a regular basis? That's where real expertise comes in terms of coaching. You and I, you're a business owner. You run Origins. You could put all your time into that, but you actually split it with coaching pretty much every day of the week, right? So it's because you really value coaching and you really value it a lot.
Well, I told people I opened the gym to be a coach.
Yeah.
I didn't open the gym to open it, make money off it, and run off and do some other stuff. I enjoy coaching, and I opened the gym so that I could coach more.
And big reason.
Playing a little footsie with me there.
Ooh.
Yeah. Right.
A big reason I'm a part of Origins is because I really. Because I happen to be in the right place at the right time. Big reason I'm a part of Origins is because I really value the philosophy that, and your vision that you've developed for Origins, and I really, really am passionate about teaching people how to get better at parkour. It's something that I've done pretty much since I started parkour. Is like, I was, pretty much the only person in my city that was doing parkour, and I wanted more people to do it, and so I just started leading sessions, and through that I actually basically for free was teaching people how to do parkour, either in group sessions or even in one-on-one, basically almost like an apprenticeship kind of program. I wasn't charging money because I was really inexperienced as well, but over time I developed more coaching skill. I came in when I moved here. I volunteered as a coach when you were doing outdoor classes. And then when Origin started up, I helped develop the program, and I like you, I coach pretty much every day of the week, and it's because, well, I need to make money, but also because I'm really passionate about it. I really enjoy teaching people, and that's why when I went to Beast Coast, that was my favorite part, when I got to coach. It wasn't like a vacation for me, just to go there. It was actually like an opportunity to teach more. And yeah, so I'd like to see, the coaching industry develop more, and it not be just filled with, athletes who are just have no other means of making, or are just seeking to make some money off of it. Instead, it's drawing in people who are really passionate about it, or really wanting to develop into a career and develop the coaching industry. there's a lot of gyms around the U.S. that really undervalue their coaches, paid like, minimum wage or $10 an hour or whatever, which is a shame. But you know what? Maybe that's all they're worth, in terms of the quality of their coaching, right? So I'd really like to make it so that coaching is really highly valued in parkour community, and having good teachers around are really valued. And the only way that happens is if we as a community start valuing coaching more, instead of just, oh, here's this athlete who performs at a high level, I'm going to go to their seminar because they're popular. And it's on me, it's on you. We need to do a better job of marketing ourselves.
Well, I was gonna say, from the competitive mindset, I always my initial response to any kind of announcement like this first is typically emotional from a competitive standpoint. So I'll look at it and it's like, oh, someone else is doing online coaching. Dang it, our online coaching thing isn't really taking off yet, but it's whose fault is that, right? Yeah. People can complain all they want about, and I've done it before. I've been there where another coach or someone else who's plugging coaching in parkour puts out something that I think is whack or I think is not super knowledgeable, and my immediate response is just to go and criticize it. But in one way, criticizing if it's important knowledge, if you're like, no, this is actually wrong and people need to know it's wrong, that's important. But ultimately, if you're just complaining because you're not getting the same amount of following as the person the person that you're criticizing, it's your own fault.
And it's just one of those things, like, focus on your own brand, your own product, and focus on what you're doing, and that's what's gonna ultimately drive you towards being more successful. And I think that's what we need to do if we want to really grow our coaching brand. But there's still I'm not trying to come off as just like a complainer, because like I said, I do see value in what they're doing as people who are trying to grow the industry more. But I think there also needs to be that critical voice, and we're in the position where we're doing it. That's saying, like, hold on a second, is this actually going to be, one, quality information, and two, is it going to be promoting the sport with the values that are important, right? Or is it just a 6-pack abs and 60 30 minutes a day you get a 6-pack abs? It's like, or 30 minutes a day you get your backflip. Whatever it is, like, is it just one of those, like, make a buck and get out, or is it actually going to be growing the coaching industry? And that's where I want to leave the
we don't know.
Question in your hands.
Yeah, but encourage people to speculate. Encourage people to if they got a problem with it, they got to put out better stuff.
Yeah,
that's absolutely the only way. That's the only way you win. Okay, good talk today, man.
Yeah.
And we will see you guys next week.